What if I told you that you can set a boundary without ever saying the word no? That you can decline requests, protect your energy, and honor your limits using language that feels diplomatic, professional, and kind, while still being absolutely clear about your boundary. Today, I'm giving you 5 phrases that do exactly that. These are the phrases I use when I need to set a boundary, but no feels too blunt, too harsh, or too likely to create some unnecessary conflict. By the end of this episode, you'll have a toolkit of alternatives that help you decline requests with grace. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. I'm your host, Priya. And before we dive in, don't forget to click the link, www.unmutewithpriya.com. It's in the description below. And this will subscribe you to my email list where you can get. So I did a 3-part series on saying no. And in episode 1, we talked about why saying no feels so hard, how to overcome the guilt. In episode 2, we covered how to say no without creating drama or starting fights. Today, we're getting even more detailed and nuanced. We're exploring how to communicate boundaries in situations where saying no directly might feel too confrontational for the relationship, create unnecessary conflict in professional settings, come across as cold when you want to maintain warmth, or trigger defensiveness in people who don't handle rejection well. Now, these 5 phrases are especially useful for professionals or relationships where there's a hierarchy, where direct refusal feels risky. Cultural contexts where indirect communication is more appropriate. People who are sensitive or prone to feeling rejected, and situations where you want to decline without burning any bridges. So let's get into it. So that doesn't work for me. Let's talk about why that works. This phrase is powerful because it's definitive without being defensive. You're not saying I can't, which invites problem solving, or I don't want to, which can feel harsh. You're simply stating that something doesn't work within your parameters. It puts the focus on it not fitting rather than rejection. It's not personal. It's just not the right fit for your situation. That doesn't work for me. When do we use it? Declining invitations to events, turning down project timelines at work, rejecting plans that don't align with your preferences, or setting boundaries around scheduling. So in order to understand how to use those, let's put it into action. Here's a scenario. A friend suggests plans, and you can say, I love that you thought of me, but Sunday morning doesn't work for me. Would Tuesday evening work instead? A colleague proposes a meeting time. That time doesn't work for me. I'm available at 2 p.m. or Thursday morning if either of those days work for you. A family member wants to discuss the relationship with you, but you just don't feel comfortable. Having conversation about my relationship right now doesn't really work for me. I appreciate your concern, but I'm handling it privately, and I know you're there for me if I want to talk to you. So notice here, I didn't use the word no. I simply said, that doesn't work for me. And it is another way of saying no. Now, you can adjust that whole phrase, that doesn't work for me, to a different context. That doesn't work for my schedule. That doesn't work for me right now. That approach doesn't work for how I do things. That timeline doesn't work for this project. Why do people respect this phrase? It's because it's stated as a fact rather than negotiation. You're not asking permission or seeking approval. Those days are over. You're sharing information about what does and doesn't work within your parameters, your boundaries. Most people won't push back because there's nothing to push back against. You haven't given them problems to solve or preferences to convince you of. You've simply stated that it doesn't work for you. Here's a mistake to avoid when you use that doesn't work for me. Don't soften it so much that it loses its power. Adding too many qualifiers undermines it. For example, oh, I don't know, I am not sure if that really works for me, and being wishy-washy. But a strong way of saying it, that doesn't work for me. So write this down and try it out. The power is in the simplicity and the certainty of that statement. Here's the second phrase. I'm not available. Why does this work? This phrase is beautiful because it's complete. It doesn't explain why you're not available. It just simply states that you're not. It works for both literal unavailability, time, and energetic unavailability, that you just don't have the capacity for it. It's professional, clear, and it doesn't invite follow-up questions the way that "I'm busy" does. When do we use this? Declining work requests outside your scope or capacity, setting boundaries around your time, protecting your emotional energy, and declining social commitments. So we need to put this into action. Here's a scenario. Boss asks you to work over the weekend, and you could say, "I'm not available this weekend. If this is urgent, let's discuss which of my projects can be moved or shifted to someone else to make room for this." Here's another scenario. A friend wants you to be their therapist again, always coming to you. You could simply say, "I care about you, but I'm not available to process this with you right now. Have you considered finding a therapist so you could talk about this some more?" Here's another scenario. Someone asks for last-minute help. "I'm not available on such short notice. If you need help with future projects, please give me at least a week's heads up." A friend wants to meet up. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not available right now." Now, here's one that I absolutely love. Someone wants to meet up, a friend. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not available to be social right now. I'm just not making plans right now. I'm in a season of protecting my energy, but I appreciate you thinking of me." I've had people use that on me, saying that they don't want to do anything for the season because they're just going inward. Do I push against that and say, "Well, you should come out and let's talk about that"? No. I respect that boundary because they've been so clear with me in setting that boundary. So here's some variations on that. "I'm not available for that." So declining a specific request. "I'm not available at that capacity." So you're declining the scope of involvement. "I'm not available right now." Declining with time boundary. And "I'm not available to take that on." Declining responsibility. And then let's talk about why this works. So in work context, this phrase is especially powerful because it's factual and businesslike. It doesn't invite debate about your priorities. It positions your time as your resource that you get to manage. And it maintains professional relationships without over-explaining. What do we do when someone pushes back when you use this? Somebody says, "Why not? What are you doing?" You could either say, "As I said, I'm not available," or "My schedule's full. Let's find another solution." Be direct. I don't need to detail my availability. I'm just not available." "I'm not available" requires you to believe that your time and your energy are valuable resources that you get to allocate. It's not available for other people to allocate. Not everything that's important to someone else gets to be important to you. You don't have to justify your unavailability. Being unavailable is a complete answer. In my strongest relationships, they tell me I'm not available. I don't say, "Oh, what are you doing?" And even just this morning, I reached out to a friend and she said, "I'm not available till Monday." The older version of me would have tried to find out, what is she doing in these 3 days that she's not available to me for this 3 days? But instead, I respected that boundary because she said it with firmness. Now, the third phrase is one that I absolutely love to use all the time. "I don't have the bandwidth for that." Or you can either say, "I don't have the capacity for that." Let's talk about why this works. Bandwidth and capacity are perfect metaphors for each other. Everyone understands that systems have limits. Human beings are no different. This phrase acknowledges that you have finite resources and you're currently at capacity. It's honest, it's not harsh, and it normalizes having limits. Let's talk about when to use this. Declining additional responsibilities at work. Now, I lead a team of 12 people, and I encourage them to use this whenever they need. I don't have capacity for that, especially if they're being asked for more tasks. Because if they don't have the capacity for it, we look for other resources to assist them. Setting boundaries with friends who want more than you can give. Protecting yourself from things that feel like emotional labor, requests. Declining commitments when you're already stretched too thin. Can't tell you how many times in my life I said yes to requests that I didn't have the capacity for. And then by the time the weekend came, my weekend was full because I said yes. And then I was back at work on Monday and had to do the Monday through Friday 9 to 5 drill. And I was exhausted and spent. I had nothing. I was functioning from an empty cup for years. Now, I want to give some more examples of what this looks like in action. So a colleague asks you to join another committee. I've been asked this in a few times in the past month. Hi, I appreciate being considered, but I don't have the bandwidth to add another commitment right now. Simple as that. Listen to how professional that sounds. A friend wants you to plan their event. Better yet, they want an event and they want you to plan it, even though it's their event. Oh, I love that you thought of me for this, but I don't have the bandwidth to take on planning right now. But I'd be happy to attend and celebrate with you. Someone wants detailed advice on something very complex that you just don't have the capacity for. You could say, that's a big topic. I don't have the bandwidth to dive into that right now. Have you considered talking to a professional about this? Now, here's some variations on this. I don't have the bandwidth for this right now. I don't have the emotional bandwidth. So when they're emotionally heavy requests, I don't have the mental bandwidth for things that require your cognition, for you to use your mind. This often happens at work. I don't have the bandwidth right now, suggesting maybe this is this might change in the future. Or I don't have the bandwidth to do this well. Emphasizing that you're placing quality over quantity. Now, this phrase works because it acknowledges your limitations without shame. It normalizes having capacity limits, which everyone has. Some people don't even know that they have a limit on their capacity or bandwidth. And by you saying this, you're giving them permission to create awareness around this, that maybe they're functioning from an empty cup. It doesn't require justification. Everyone understands it. And it positions the boundary as self-care rather than rejection. So just like your computer slows down when you have too many programs running, if I look at my computer right now, I have at least 30 tabs running, and it will say that my computer is running slowly. Just like that, you operate less effectively when you exceed your bandwidth. It's not a character flaw, it's reality. It's energy. Now, using this language helps both you and others understand that boundaries aren't about not caring. It's about operating optimally. Now, sometimes adding brief context makes this phrase even more powerful. Between work deadlines and family commitments, I don't have the bandwidth for anything additional right now. I am in a season of protecting my bandwidth, so I'm being very selective about what I take on or how I spend my free time. My bandwidth is fully allocated to existing commitments, so I can't add anything new without dropping something else. There is some real liberation in this phrase. It's something so freeing about naming your limits. You're not apologizing for them or trying to transcend them. You're just acknowledging that they exist and giving others permission to acknowledge that it exists. When you consistently honor your bandwidth, you train people to respect it. They learn to consider your capacity before making requests. Let's move on to the fourth phrase. I'm going to pass. I love this one. This phrase is beautifully neutral. You're not saying the opportunity is bad. You're not criticizing the person asking. You're simply opting out. It's decisive without being dramatic. This phrase borrows language from card games and business deals, where passing is a normal expected option. Now, when can we use this phrase? I'm going to pass. Declining social invitations, turning down business opportunities that don't align. This is a key one, for especially if you're an entrepreneur or you're running a business. Opting out of group activities or declining to engage with certain topics or conversations. So here's how it sounds in action. If you get an invitation to a party, you could say, "Oh, thanks so much for the invitation. I'm going to pass on this one, but hope you have an amazing time." Did that sound like a no? No, but it was a no. Someone is pitching their business opportunity to you, or multi-level marketing. That has a bad rap. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten into network marketing businesses because I didn't say no. So you could say, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm going to pass this opportunity." Now, how about a group deciding on weekend plans? That sounds fun, but I'm going to pass. Have fun. Now, how about if somebody's asking your opinion on drama? You could say, "I'm going to pass on weighing in on this one. I hope it gets resolved smoothly." Here are some variations on how we can use "I'm going to pass." So you could say, "I'm going to pass on this one," and that suggests it's situation specific. It's not a permanent thing. "I'm going to pass, but thank you," adding gratitude. "I'm going to pass this time," so you leave the door open for the future. And "I think I'll pass." That's a slightly softer version. Now, unlike no, which can feel confrontational, pass feels like a neutral choice. It doesn't have emotional weight to it. It's a selection. And it makes it perfect for situations where you want to decline without making it a big deal. There's professional applications here. In work settings, I'm going to pass works in optional meetings or committees. So you're not ending up with being on 40 committees and having to meet multiple times a month and not getting anything from Zoom meetings or in person, networking meetings, after work social activities, or projects that don't align with your professional goals. Now let's go over some scenarios. Let's say that you're invited to an optional meeting. You could say, I'm going to pass on this meeting, but please keep me looped in on any key decisions via email. If you're asked to attend work happy hour, you could say, I'm going to pass tonight, but thanks for including me. And in social situations, it helps you to opt out without seeming antisocial. Let's say that friends are planning an elaborate weekend trip. You could say, that sounds like it'd be so much fun for all of you, but I'm going to pass on this trip. Tell me all about it when you get back. Notice how you can decline while still expressing genuine interest in the experience. You're not rejecting them. You're just not participating in that particular activity. Now, the beauty of I'm going to pass is that it stands alone. You don't need to follow it with reasons unless you genuinely want to share them. A weak example of this is I'm going to pass because I'm tired and I have so much to do and I'm not really into that kind of thing. And you just keep going on and on and on. Strong delivery of I'm going to pass is I'm going to pass on this one, but thanks for thinking of me. When you use this phrase consistently, people learn that you're someone who opts in and opts out of things based on your authentic interest, not someone who always just says yes out of obligation. And it actually makes your yes more meaningful. And when you do participate, people know it's because you genuinely want to be there. Now, the last phrase that I absolutely love, I love all these phrases that I use regularly. That's not going to work for me. That's not going to work out, or that's not going to work out for me. Now, why does this work? It's the most definitive of all the 5. It signals that something has been considered and decided against. There's a finality in it that doesn't invite negotiation. And it works really well when you need to shut down repeated requests or ongoing pressure. So let's talk about when to use it. And in conversations about things that you've already declined. Responding to persistent requests, setting firm boundaries after softer ones have been ignored, and declining things that are just not compatible with your values or your needs. In order to understand this phrase, let's talk about how it sounds in action. Someone keeps asking you to reconsider and you say, I understand you'd like me to do this, but it's not going to work out. A family member might be pressuring you about life's choices. I hear your concerns, but it's not going to work out the way you're suggesting to me. I've made my decision. Someone might propose an arrangement that doesn't serve you. I thought about it and that arrangement's not going to work for me. Now, here's one where someone might be asking you to compromise your boundary. I understand what you're asking for, but it's not going to work out. My boundary on this is firm. Now, there's variations of using this. That's not going to work out for me is personal. I don't see that working out. It softens it. That's just not going to work out. It's emphasizing finality. And I don't think that's going to work out. It's gentle, but clear. Now, unlike that doesn't work for me right now, which suggests that might change, that's not going to work out, signals that the door is closed. Use it when you need people to stop asking you or trying to convince you. This phrase helps stop pushy people. Persistent boundary pushers are looking for wiggle room. They're listening for uncertainty, for soft spots in your no, so they can exploit you, take advantage of you, use you. That's not going to work out, gives them nothing to work with. It's not about timing. It's not about circumstances. It's just not happening. Now, at work, it's particularly useful where you need to be diplomatic but definitive. So a client might ask you for additional information. And you could say, I understand that you'd like these additional features, but given our timeline and budget, that's not going to work out. Let's discuss what's possible within our current parameters. A colleague might want you to cover their responsibilities. You could say, I've covered it for you several times already. Moving forward, that's not going to work out. You'll need to find alternative coverage. What about a business partnership that doesn't align? I've reviewed the proposal, and I don't think this partnership is going to work out. I wish you best with the project. Now let's talk about this in regards to relationships. In personal relationships, it helps you end negotiations that shouldn't be negotiations. The ex wanting to stay friends. Oh, I could speak to this. I understand that's what you'd prefer, but it's not going to work out for me. We need a clean break. You don't even have to say we need. I need a clean break. A friend expecting you to always accommodate them, be available for them, regardless if there's last minute changes, always just being at their beck and call. You could say, I've been accommodating your last minute changes, but going forward, it's not going to work out. I need more reliability in our plans. The tone matters when you say this. Very important that you deliver it calmly and matter-of-factly and not with anger or attitude. You're simply stating a fact. This arrangement is not going to happen. The calmness in all 5 of these statements is what makes it more powerful. You're not trying to convince or justify anyone. You're just informing them. Use the first 4 phrases for initial boundaries and normal requests. And use this one when someone's ignored your shorter nose. You're dealing with someone who doesn't respect boundaries. You need to be unmistakably clear, and the situation requires finality. So let's bring it all together. Now that you have all 5 phrases, let's talk about how to choose which one to use. That doesn't work for me. You can use it for everyday boundaries, scheduling conflicts, and situations where you want to stay neutral. I'm not available. Use it for time-based or capacity-based boundaries, especially in professional settings. I don't have the bandwidth. Use it when you're genuinely at capacity. You're maxed, and you want to normalize having limits. I'm going to pass. Use it for social situations where you want to decline lightheartedly without making it a big deal. And that's not going to work out. Use it when you need to be firm and final, especially with persistent requests. All 5 of these phrases, they state your boundary as fact, not as negotiation. They don't over-explain or justify. They maintain respect for the other person while honoring you, and they give people clear information that they can work with. And the best part, none of these are using the word no, but essentially you are saying no. Now, these phrases might feel awkward at first, and that's normal. It was awkward for me. You're learning a new language, the language of clear, kind boundaries. Practice saying them out loud. And as you start saying them more, you'll notice that it's becoming easier and easier to say them. And you're just using iterations of all 5 throughout your day without even thinking about it. When you're starting out, notice which one feels most natural for you. And pay attention to which situations call for which phrase. And over time, these phrases will become just as automatic as your old people-pleasing responses used to be. You now have 5 powerful alternatives to saying no that you can set, that help you to set boundaries with grace, clarity, kindness. And they'll serve you in every area of your life: professional, family, personal, social. And the goal isn't to avoid saying no forever. I still want you to learn how to say no. The goal is to have options. And sometimes no is exactly the right word. Other times, these alternatives feel more appropriate for the relationship or context. What matters most is that you're setting boundaries and you're learning how to get better at setting boundaries, however you choose to communicate them. So here's your practice for this week. Try each of these phrases at least once. Notice which ones feel most natural. Pay attention to how people respond. And build your confidence with the alternatives. Drop a comment telling me which one of these 5 phrases you are most excited to try. And if you've already tried them, let me know in the comments, how did it work out for you? How did it turn out? Let's celebrate choosing ourselves. And remember, you don't need permission to protect your peace. You just need the words. And now you have them. I'll see you in the next episode.